What's the most inaccurate thing your child has ever been taught in school? 1. My son was in the 4th grade when his science teacher called me, furious that he had been disrespectful in class. I asked her what had happened. She said, I was teaching the students the difference between mammals and fish. I told them that sharks are mammals and whales are fish. He interrupted me and told me I had made a mistake. I, of course, told him I was right, and he said, "Who gave you a diploma?" I told her I would talk to my son about his rudeness. I then called the principal and made an appointment to meet with both him and the teacher. In the meeting, I asked her to repeat her story, and she did, still insisting that whales were fish and sharks were mammals. The principal just shook his head and said, and I hired her. I did talk to my son about being polite to everyone, even if they are wrong. 2. My son was in 4th grade. He came home with a math paper that was marked F. I read through the problems and realized the answers were all correct. I called the teacher, and he said that my son needed to show his work on the paper. I replied that he didn't show his work because these problems were easy and he did them all in his head. I told him that if he wanted to take off some points for not explaining, that was one thing, but an F was completely unacceptable. In the course of the conversation, the teacher said, "Your son needs to recognize that 2 plus 2 does not always equal 4. I almost choked on my drink, spitting it out as I thought, I think it does always equal 4. The teacher went on a long rant about how he was an engineer who quit to teach math, and that I probably couldn't understand something so complex, but that he could write some computer modeling to show that 2 plus 2 did not always equal 4. I took a deep breath, thought, thank you for mansplaining, and said, interestingly enough, my career is as a systems engineer. I spend my days creating and running computer models. I can assure you that if you input the same data each time, you will get the same result, i.e., 2 plus 2 will always compute to 4. It's only if you change the input data that you will get a different result. Of course, then that would be a new algorithm and not the original 2 plus 2. At that point, I knew 4th grade math was going to be a lost cause for my gifted and talented 10-year-old, so I told him to complete the work accurately and not worry about the grade. 3. We had just moved back to Wisconsin from living abroad. I was called by my 2nd grade son's teacher at his new school, who informed me that he wouldn't stop lying about living on a fictional island called Saipan. We came in to pick him up from school. The teacher pulled down a map and showed us that he was pointing to an empty spot in the middle of the ocean labeled Saipan. We had the pleasure of informing her that her map was outdated and that, indeed, there is an island exactly where he indicated called Saipan, where we had just relocated from. Awkward, to say the least. 4. My daughter was in the 3rd grade and came home with a math assignment having to do with exponents. Now, I am not a math person, that job belongs to her dad, who is a chemical engineer. I did notice, however, that she appeared to have confused the term cubed as being to the 4th power instead of the 3rd. When I pointed this out,